Imagine being so bad at your job that your boss creates a rule to stop you from repeatedly screwing yourself over. Well, this happened to an owner in the NBA. No, it's not Dan Gilbert or James Dolan. This man traded so many picks he makes Steve Ballmer's trade for Paul George look conservative. He's the reason why your settings on 2K take just a little bit longer to configure. He was in total and complete win now mode. It was the 80s, arguably the NBA's most entertaining decade of basketball. Magic and Bird were battling for titles, and we were introduced to a kid from North Carolina named Michael Jordan. Things were good back then, except for one man and one team. I'm Frank Smith, and this is the story of Ted Stepien, a man who in 1981 destroyed the Cavs and changed the NBA forever. A ClutchPoints original mini-documentary. The Cavaliers, known at the time not so lovingly as the Cleveland Cadavers, didn't get the memo that they were supposed to be getting more exciting in the 80s. Instead, they were gradually self-destructing. The NBA has a long history of inserting rules to protect owners from themselves. Just look at the one and done rule. It was created to prevent owners from blowing lottery picks on unknown teenagers. Looking at you, Kwame Brown. Anyway, you know how you used to make up rules when you were a kid to level the playing field? Like, if you picked a kid who was 6'5" in 4th grade, then the other captain got the next 3 picks. Well, the NBA essentially was forced to treat Stepien like a child. The guy was so incompetent with his trades, the league had to make it illegal for him to trade draft picks without the league's approval. He was essentially a 4-year-old asking for a Pop-Tart. But instead of an adult telling the child yes or no, the NBA would just look at Stepien with cold, dead eyes. The exact wording of the rule is boring, so here's the translation and all you really need to know. You can't trade away your first-round draft picks if it leaves you without a first-rounder for back-to-back years. Essentially, don't mortgage your entire future assets in the name of right now, which, for Stepien, the right now often meant awful trades with no foresight or vision. So, what deals did Stepien make to warrant a rule named after himself? The wealthy businessman bought the Cavs in 1980 and immediately attempted to turn them into a playoff team. I mean, he had the right idea, but Stepien completely failed execution-wise. Instead of stockpiling draft picks for rebuilding, Stepien decided to sell all the draft picks he could for players that could contribute immediately. Again, not the worst thing he could have done. The Clippers essentially did this in 2019. Except, Cleveland and Los Angeles are different markets, and the kind of players a team can attract often rely upon location. The Clippers did it for 3 years of service from a perennial all-star. Stepien did it for scrubs. Not Zach Braff scrubs, awful player scrubs. In the first year of Stepien's ownership, he traded the Cavs' 1982 first-rounder for Lakers guard Don Ford, who never averaged double-digit scoring in his entire career. That first-round pick would become James Worthy. So, that one didn't work out. This was the first trade in what would become a fire sale of Cleveland first-rounders. Prepare yourself. The team sent their 83, 84, 85, and 86 picks to the Mavericks. In exchange, they acquired Jerome Whitehead, Richard Washington, Mike Bratz, and Jeff Houston. Now, there's a slim chance you know any of those guys if you were born anytime past the 90s, and even if you were born in the 80s, you probably still don't know them. To put the absurdity of those moves into context, they would become Sam Perkins, Derek Harper, Detlef Schrempf, and Dale Ellis. Some very quality players who surely could have turned the Cavs around. After watching a few years of the Cavs play terrible basketball, the league had to step in. The Cavs were tanking so badly that the NBA was scared they might have to disband the team. Not relocate them, disband them. Just look at Stepien with a stern face, give him a figurative shoulder shrug, then make the entire franchise vanish into thin air. Someone had to save the Cavs from themselves, so the Stepien Rule was put into effect. No longer could a team sell so many first-rounders in pursuit of the present. Eventually, the league did lift the trade ban and decided to let Stepien make first-round swaps again, just as long as the league's director of operations approved it. Basically, they put training wheels on Stepien and prayed he had learned his lesson. So while the rule does exist, it can be bypassed with permission from the league. Technically, teams can send as many first-round picks out of town as they want, just as long as it's okayed by the NBA. While we might see picks fly as we did in the Paul George trade, this league technicality means that teams have to do a little balancing to make everything NBA kosher. Notice how the Clippers gave up their own first-round picks in alternating years. They sent the Thunder first rounders in 2022, 24, and 26. Of course, they also sent them picks in 21 and 23, but those picks were from Miami, meaning they will still pick somewhere in the first round in those years. We still feel the effect of one man's misguided rebuild in the NBA today. Cavs fans should be thankful he wasn't around in the 2000s, or we might have never seen LeBron suit up for his home team. Huge thanks to all who watched, and to the tremendous team at ClutchPoints who produced this. I'm Frank Smith. You can follow me at FMS_Frank Smith, and follow ClutchPoints at ClutchPoints. Another side note, if you're not subscribing to us on YouTube, you're missing out. All of our best content is here. If you love our pages on IG and Facebook, I can guarantee you'll love the YouTube channel. Until next time.